better insight into adoption in Ghana, both national and international. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise once again.
Right, long time.
This is a really sensitive topic, right? And it depends on where you are in this regard. If you're one of those orphans, 1.1 million orphans, and I think it's important for us to note that by our definition, an orphan is someone who's lost even one parent.
Exactly.
So this is different from the way some Western countries would define being an orphan, in that you've lost both parents.
Yeah.
Where do you think that leaves this vulnerable group of children?
Yeah, I think that they become prone to adoption in the country, and their lives also becomes something that, if you are not careful, we cannot place it in the proper perspective, because the easiest way out is for us to give them for adoption.
For adoption. Now, I'm really interested that in what you've just said about a child who's lost one or both parents, being prone or open to possible adoption. Now, our definition of a child is anyone between the ages of 0 to 18 years.
Exactly.
And I would think that it's much more difficult to get a 17 or 16-year-old an adoptive family than, say, a baby or an infant.
Yes, but generally the principle is that if you are below the age of 18, you can't be adopted. But if you look at the practice, we have even children as old as 2 months being adopted in the family by other parent and all that. So there's no any clear definition as to who can be adopted. But as long as you are between the age of 18, you are below the age of 18 years, then you can be adopted. But what the law requires is that whoever is coming to adopt, the person must be 21 years older than the person who to be adopted and all that. So, and you'd have to be, you can only adopt a child if you're above 25 years in Ghana, and you should be older. You should be 21 years older than the person that they're coming to adopt. So that
you should be at least 25 years old yourself.
Yes.
And there should be 21 years
older than the person that they're coming to adopt.
Than the child you want to adopt.
Exactly. So that also places a limitation as to, if you're 25 and you want to adopt a child, then it means that you should be looking at adopting somebody who is 4 years or 3 years, because you need to be 21 years older than the person. So
okay, but if you're 50 years old, if you're 40 plus,
40 plus, 50 plus, then
you can look at a teenager.
You can look at a teenager. So that's the process, and there are conditions under which adoption can be done, especially one when it has been investigated and realized that the family cannot take care of the child, and also the state can also give adoption if they realize that the parent has also neglected their responsibility. And in Ghana, a parent can't give out their responsibility, their right and responsibility to the state, and if the state also realize that it is not in a position to take care of the child, then the state can also give children to adopted.
Now how often does this happen, where parents, families give up their legal rights to the state, to the public, when it comes to providing care for a child?
Yeah, it does happen, but in Ghana we don't really take it serious, because you see, a parent can walk to the police station and say that I don't want my child because the child is a very deviant person, so I don't want to see the child.
Really? But can you do the same with the Department of Social Welfare? Can a parent walk to the Department of Social Welfare and says, I can't take care of my child, I'm too poor, I can't feed this child, I can't send this child to school, and I can't provide for a safe place for this child to sleep?
Of course, if you do that, then the social welfare, per their mandate, need to investigate the family and find out whether indeed what you are alluding to is something that they can write home about, and then on the basis of that, they can take up that responsibility from you, and that responsibility becomes the state responsibility. So the state now becomes a parent to that child, so whatever the child would enjoy in that environment becomes the responsibility of the state, and the parent, in this case the biological parent, do not have any single right over the child in terms of what the state want to do with that child, because clearly within the Children's Act we have spelled out the right and responsibility of parent towards their children, but there are certain circumstances that they can renege on that right and responsibilities, and then the state can take it over. That is where you see a lot of things happening. But parents can also give their children to another person to be adopted, and the law has stated clearly as to how that processes can be done and all that. Yeah.
Now, the Minister for Gender and Social Protection said that she learned that we have as many as 17 adoption agencies in Ghana, against the background of only 3 having been accepted by the Department of Social Welfare to operate in our country. And this is on the topic of international adoptions, in whether children should be more easily adopted nationally by Ghanaians or adopted internationally. And she expressed concern about the increase in inter-country adoptions. There's an example of 300 Ghanaian children being adopted and sent to one particular foreign country alone within a single year. That's almost a child a day. What are your thoughts on that, national versus international adoptions?
I think it's a very serious issue, because inter-country adoption is very complex in Ghana, because for you to do that, you need to get some requirement in place before you can do that, and then there should be a follow-up by the Department of Social Welfare to find out whether indeed that person can do that. So it's not an easy process where you can just do it. So to the extent that we can have over 300 children being adopted in a year, and that is very serious, and I'm sure that is why the minister is concerned about that, because it leaves room for people to do whatever they want to do at all. Because if you want to do inter-country adoption, they can even take you more than a year to do one single inter-country adoption. So if they can do more than 300, then it means that there are some issues within the system that are not going on well, and I think that is why that concern has come. Because for the institution to even be recognized to do adoption, you need to be recognized by the minister responsible for social welfare, and you need to be gazetted. You need to be recognized, you need to be gazetted. So I'm sure there are a lot of institutions there are a lot of institutions that are not gazetted, but they are doing that kind of work. And
there are 3 that have been accepted by the Department of Social Welfare.
Then it means that they have gone through the process.
Friends of Children, that's an Italian NGO, Friends of Children, the Bethany Christian Services from the United States of America, and Adoption Centrum from Sweden. So it comes as no surprise that the recent Swedish couple who opted to adopt the conjoined twins hit the headlines.
Yeah, Eric, adoption in Ghana can only be granted by the court. In this case, the High Court, the Circuit Court, and then the Family Tribunal. So, in reality, social welfare needs to be in a better position to do adoption, and I find it a bit surprised to see these foreign NGOs getting that legal right to do adoption. It's a bit surprising.
No, just actors agencies. They don't have the legal rights. They're just intermediary agencies between prospective adoptive parents and children who are in need of adoption.
Yeah, Eric, whatever it is the state that is responsible for this kind of activities, and I've not read anywhere that there can be an intermediary in terms of how we do adoption. If somebody wants to apply for adoption in Ghana, the person needs to go through the process of achieving. If you are qualified, then the state can grant you that adoption. And even coming back to the twins that the Swedish parents want to adopt, it's a test case for Ghana, in the sense that this is a situation where doctors has done their medical proof and realized that these children cannot survive even if you want to separate them, and then if you look at the requirement for any adoption at all, these children do not fall within that category. So there are a lot of issues that we need to ask as to under what condition is government granting this Swedish parent the right to have this adoption, for what purpose? And I think that is what the state must let us know. What purpose are they giving these children to be adopted by this parent? And there's a lot of questions that we are...
Okay, how about this? How about just simple arithmetic? If we go back to 2010 and we just go by even UNICEF or WHO figures, you will see that out of a population of over 20 million, we have an estimated number of people living with HIV put at about 300,000, a third of a million. Now we have an estimated number of orphans that is over 1 million. We have an estimated number of street children at 50,000, and children not attending school as per 2007 study at about 1.4 million. So even assuming that it's reduced by 400,000, we can put it in the area of about a million. Estimated number of children in institutions, in orphanages, 4,500. Don't the figures speak for themselves?
Yeah, it does, and that's what I'm saying. I said that this leaves room for any manipulation, because if the system cannot contain the children, then it means that we need to look out for any alternative, because under all circumstances we have to make sure that the environment is safe for children to live in. So if you don't have that right environment, then of course we should be looking at other alternative, which is legally enshrined within our laws, which of course fostering and then adoption is one of the issues. So we always want to use the easy way out, because there are a lot of people who are showing concern about children, who they want to take care of them and all that, and most of them who come for this adoption are foreigners. So I think that yes, indeed, that process is there, but we need to do a lot to strengthen and make sure that people who come for adoption do the right thing, and then we can also follow up. There is something that we are forgetting about, is whenever we give adoption to anybody outside Ghana, the law requires that social welfare must also follow up to see the welfare of that child.
Okay, research has also shown that if you look at even the number of children we have in orphanages, 4,500 out of the estimated number of orphans, which is over 1 million, and you look at those that are in orphanages that have been identified as orphans and and classified, or to some extent even stigmatized with that tag, that classification, 8 or 9 out of 10 are simply there because of poverty. So they either have one surviving parent, or they have close extended family, something that we are really proud of as one of our cultural pillars in Ghana, our extended family system. Does this tell you or suggest to you that our culture is collapsing?
Yes, Eric, there are a lot of issues that if we want to discuss about our family system and then the extended family system also, you realize that there are a lot of issues that we need to deal with, in a sense that the responsibility that will be given to them, to some extent, they are relegating that responsibility. And also because they always want the easy way out, they resort to the orphanage homes, which of course also serves a purpose, all right, but I think that it is a system for the last resort, where all things being equal, the situation cannot be contained by the family. That is where you see them going to the orphanage homes and all that. But research has showed clearly that you see a lot of children in these orphanage homes that are not really people who are supposed to be there, and these are the difficulties that we have expressed. So it is a matter of a policy issue for us to really look at how best we can strengthen the orphanages that are working well, because I know orphanages that are doing very well in this country, so that we give them the power to be able to do that. But I want to put on record that orphanages do not have the power to give adoption.
Only a judge sitting in a court of law can do that with
orphanages,
with the advice of the Department of Social Welfare. When we look at the benefits to the children, it has been demonstrated time and time again that it costs 6 times as much to take care of a child in an institution as in a family or a community environment. So for the one child that we might be able to take care of in an institution such as an orphanage or a children's home, we can take care of as many as 5 or 6 children if we were to just help their families directly. Now, is this in any way enshrined in any of our policies? Support to vulnerable families of vulnerable children at the family level, at the community level?
I think when you look at the LIP program of government, I think it has a component that deals with that, looking at how to place children in the family system, and then they provide support. And I think that it's still on a pilot base, and it is something that we need to scale up to be able to cover a lot of people, so that we can provide the needed environment for children to live. Because clearly research has shown that yes, indeed, the family system is better a place for children to live than to live in orphanage homes. But the fact is that we cannot rule out the role that orphanages can play when it comes to the welfare of children. So we need to limit that and make sure that we strengthen the family system.
But you keep saying that it's a last resort. What are our first, second, and third resorts? How many resorts do we have?
There are so many alternatives, because even for a child to leave the family, the social welfare system must also investigate whether indeed there is somebody in the family who can take care of that child. And if you look at our cultural practices, you realize that we live, though there's a nuclear family, the extended family is also there. And if you really want to go into, you realize that there's somebody in the family who can do that, unless otherwise the person says that I cannot.
Brett, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it a fact that any child that is found in an institution has to have a care order that can also only be issued by a judge sitting in a court of law? A parent cannot just take their child and give the child to an institution, a child care institution, and say, well, I'm too poor, or I'm too distressed, or I'm too busy, or I'm too ill. Here, take my child. You need to go through the Department of Social Welfare, who will work with a judge, and the judge will examine the case, and if he says, yes, I appoint you, Brighton, your institution, or you, Eric, to be a caregiver for this child, you're just a caregiver. But even that requires what is called a care order, and that can only be given by a judge.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, that the parent will have a right to put up their case across. As to whether to be granted or not, that order will be given is another matter altogether, left to the court to decide. Because even if you look at the judicial system when it comes to children, the law even make reference to the fact that for a family tribunal to even determine a case, it's supposed not to be by adversarial, but they have to look at the inquiry issues before they can determine the case, which means that the judge sitting on that case can decide to stand up, and if you go to the community to investigate issues and come out and say that this is the way forward. So on that basis, then I'm taking that right and responsibility from the parent. But it will be a real case in Ghana for such case to happen. That is why you see a lot of people sending their children to the back door, to the orphanage homes and all that, because the state must certify that indeed this orphanage home, I'm giving that responsibility to.
How serious a problem is this? If you look at it from the point of view of an orphan that was born with HIV, this backdoor process that you mentioned, because it doesn't end with orphanages. It actually ends or continues to child trafficking situations and international adoptions sometimes without due scrutiny. You mentioned several stringent characteristics that are applied to any prospective adopting parent in Ghana. Does the same apply to foreign nationals?
It's a bit different. Because if you are in Ghana, the system requires that the system assume that they have some knowledge about the person who is coming to do the adoption. So there is some flexibility in that. But when it's an inter-country adoption, then of course there should be a lot of investigation. One, they have to investigate to find out where you even live as a parent, whether the environment that you live is going to be good for the child, and whether indeed you are capable of taking care of that child. And you need all of that proof for the child to say that, okay, I'm satisfied with it. And even with that, the law requires that even if you send a child, you should, is either you engage the service of a social welfare officer who will be going there to find out how the child is doing for a period of time before the child can say that I'm giving the approval. Because inter-country adoption is not straightforward that if the approval can be given, but sometimes they can allow the child to come and stay with you and then monitor how you are taking care of the child, and if they are satisfied with it, then the court can decide that, okay, you have proved yourself beyond all reasonable that you are capable, therefore they can give you that adoption. So it's a bit different, because we are not there to know the condition in which we are, so we need to certify all of these requirements before we can give inter-country adoption. But Eric, there are so many issues with it, and I think that we need to be very, very careful as to how we do it, because there are a lot of children that we have given for adoption that we can't even trace where they are, but the law requires that we need to know their whereabouts.
Well, we've almost run out of time. I'm going to go for a short break, but just before then, I'd like to share this post with you, Bright, and with our viewers. This is from Shaibu Abdul Rahman. He posts, Eric, I have a problem I want you to help me with, please. I think you are best positioned, much better than I am, to help him. Because I found myself in an adoption case in which I am now in a fix. In this instance, I was involved in a case in which a family came to Ghana and adopted a child in the year 2006 or thereabouts, and since then the family has been on my neck. They want to know the status of their son, but that seems to be impossible as the family in Finland is not reachable. But this is something that I'm sure you could give Shaibu Abdurrahman some advice on. So I'm going to share your email address with him,
with
so that he can
our
get in touch
contact
with
number,
you,
and then we can
get in touch with him in the break.